Welcome to Health is Wealth. Often parents wonder how they can create an environment in their home and in their relationships with their children that will nurture their children's ability to meet the challenges they will confront as they grow and move out to the world. There are three ways of parenting: permissive, assertive, and aggressive. Tonight, our discussion is based on the topic, how to be an assertive parent. Let's welcome Dr. Naveen Mehrotra. Welcome, doctor.
Thank you so much for having me again.
All right, this is great, and the topic is so good.
Of course, and it's a difficult topic because I think a lot of the parents have an issue with this.
Of course it is, because, well, raising a kid, there are so many things that you have to think and you have to decide, and it is always a challenge, like how you grew up, what were your values, and raising a kid here in US, it's kind of quite a different thing that we face all the time.
It's extremely different than a generation ago.
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up, my dad, if he came into the house, I would be so quiet and sit in the corner.
Okay.
You would hear his footsteps and you would go.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's extremely the opposite.
Okay.
And you know, if you're living in a multi-generational household, your parents will always say, nowadays these kids just don't listen, what's going on? How you were raised, it's so different, what's going on? You know, right? So those are the issues because we have transplanted into a different society, but our cultural values are the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
thought process continues. So now parenting, disciplining, it's all something very new for us and how to go ahead and handle it.
Yeah. Yes, totally. And I hope all the parents out there who are really watching us, they will really agree with this point, because we all go through in our life all these stages and states. And mostly I really want to go through the first thing that is coming in my mind. I hope you'll agree that how to discipline your child. You know, that is a quite sensitive part that we sometimes see that like a child, and maybe we can say that, oh my God, what is happening, is running around doing this, throwing away stuff. So what to do with that?
So that is where, when you talked about the various ways of disciplining, right? Disciplining means trying to go ahead and get the child to conform to societal standards, right? What is acceptable, what is not acceptable. So at home, you know, you may think that your child can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So you can be what we call a permissive parent. Right? So, jo bhi hai chalta hai. That's okay. It's a kid. He'll be fine. Just let him be. Right? So that is a very different type of thought process. But now, if you take that same kid out and he continues to behave that way, then it may not be acceptable by your friends or the society or where you're going, or even in school. And you have to learn where to step in. So if you're that type of a permissive parent, it may not work in our society these days. Now, the other extreme that you talked about was the aggressive parent, and that was, you know, that use of corporal punishment, which we do not recommend at this point at all. Then the whole issue about that power struggle, that fighting, you should do this, you should do that, and that escalates. And that becomes an even more difficult thing to do. So being an assertive parent is neither that permissive one, neither the aggressive, and in between. And we believe that if you can conform to those guidelines, you'll probably do a great job as as you're raising the child. Okay.
So for the disciplining part, being a pediatrician, have you gone through with any mom or any dad about their child behavior, or they're not behaving properly? So what is your thinking about it?
That is one of the most common questions I have, right? So, oh doc, and at each age, depending on the age, you know, at what time you're trying to discipline the child and what are the things that you're trying to do, it's totally attacked in a different way, right? So if it's a little baby, or if it's a little toddler, or if it's a little, little older child, the most important thing that any parent needs to do is to listen, right? We're not used to doing that.
Oh no. Oh no. Listen. Okay.
Listen, yeah, because you think as a parent, you should know it all, right? So whatever your child is saying is the wrong thing. And how dare your child say something to you because you know it and you're the boss. So that's the first thing, that you have to accept that there are times when you may not be right.
Yeah.
And you have to hear the child out. So I was listening to one of these comedy shows where, he said the only 4 interactions he had with his father was, okay, did you do your homework? Or when is your next test? Or what did you do? Or how did you do on your test? So that is a sort of a thought process that a lot of parents have coming in from India, right? So the father was very stoic, was very outside of raising the child.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is to understand and to listen to what the child has to say.
Yeah.
Why is the child saying something? So if the child is not doing well in school, there may be other reasons. The first thing that any parent will say is, you're not studying enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is for, I think, all the Asian parents who are out there who are listening to our show right now. I think this is a great challenge for all of us. We are so much in it, like they have to get 95%, they have to get 100%. Come on. And one school, some of the schools, they get 104 and still they're competing. I don't know why they're competing. Right. Because every child has their own ability to understand or do something. I mean, maybe they're good in something else. We all have different power and different things. So I mean, well, fine, but I'm just being rational here.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're all at fault for that, right?
Yeah.
So we put that pressure on the child. Yeah. We don't listen, and we don't realize that there may have been something else that was going on.
Yeah.
So is there an issue with? Is there a medical problem? Right. So we don't even look at the child. We don't listen to the child. So is there something wrong at the environment in the school? Is there somebody bullying the child? Is it that there's an eyesight issue and the child cannot see the blackboard properly, right? So there are many things. So you have to understand, why is the child not doing what they're doing?
Or maybe the subject is not interesting to him.
So that is one thing, right? So that is just the school environment.
Yes.
So, right?
Yes.
So now the other thing is, well, you put your child into many different activities, and if the child doesn't like it, he's going to act out, right? So you can force your child to go to, music class or dance class and so on. But if the child doesn't like it, they will not perform to their fullest ability.
Yeah.
And you will, as a parent, keep on saying, you have to do this, and you just don't listen.
Yes.
So the number one rule for any parent is that you have to listen to what your child is talking about. And you can put your authority down for a little bit and be that loving parent and keep your ears open. So,
Okay, but tell me one thing. When they're a toddler, sometimes they're touching stuff, and they're it is that inquisitive nature of the child that they will touch everything. They will try to do everything, and we can say sometimes that it's like the terrible too. So which age do you think that we should start disciplining them?
So for that child who's touching things, that is a child's inquisitive nature, as you said.
Yeah.
And you have to know where to draw the line.
Yeah.
And when do you have to step in? So every time the child is doing something that you don't like or that you think is wrong, you cannot step in and say to them, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. What is the word that the child is going to learn?
Yeah.
What? Tell me.
Well,
no,
okay.
no.
Yeah,
right?
only no.
So
yeah.
every time if you say no to your child, they're going to respond back to you with no, because they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't understand. Yeah.
So
but another thing is that we don't believe that also, that when the kids are little, that they are understanding what we say, because sometimes that also happens with my friends or in my family, that he doesn't understand anything, why you are talking to him.
So at a certain age, the child does understand. They may not understand the repercussions that you're going to give them, or the repercussion of their actions, or if you're trying to discipline them. So usually we'll say, okay, if you're trying to put in time out as a form of discipline, then that typically would start around 2 years of age or so. Okay, and the number of minutes you put a child into timeout is typically based on their age. So a 2-minute timeout for a 2-year-old, or a 3-minute timeout for a 3-year-old, and so on. And timeout doesn't necessarily have to be effective on all kids. You may have to find other ways of disciplining your child. Okay.
Because I saw, I'm sorry to interrupt
No
you,
problem.
but I saw several times that who are really with this timeout things and all these things, after 7 or 8, they're like, yeah, what mommy's gonna do? She's gonna tell me, no phone, no TV. I'm just gonna sit in one corner and I'm gonna do my stuff and that's it. I mean,
So,
that's what I heard from my friends' kids, and I felt so bad about it, that they don't care anymore, that what the parents are thinking.
So that is where we have to get into the other steps of being an assertive parent.
Okay.
So how do you get your child to listen to you? So how do you get them to follow through with your actions,
Yeah.
or what you want them to go ahead and do?
Okay.
Is you have to involve the child into the punishment that you're going to go ahead and do. Okay.
And how we do that.
So let's say if your child is not, is throwing everything around, is going ahead and, not getting out of the TV or whatever it is,
Yeah.
something that you do not want them to do,
Yeah.
you will have to tell them, well, we are going to go ahead and stop this action that you're doing, but why don't you give me the solution for this? If you don't do this, what should we do? So involve them into the disciplining process. Okay. I have been telling you, you have to cut down your TV time, and you have not been following this. What do you think we should do now at this point? Because now I do need to turn off the TV. And if you tell me what we're going to do and you follow through with it, then we will probably give that back to you. Okay.
Got it.
So it
Okay.
requires a lot of patience.
It does.
It requires a lot of making sure that the child is involved so that the child feels empowered. When you say to them, you're not doing this the way I want you to do it, now you're going to go to timeout. Okay, that's one way of doing it. But you put them into the timeout, and after a while it just becomes the same thing, right? So the child just doesn't care. And he's going to get angry, or she's going to get angry about what you're doing. So this way, when you involve them, they will start to follow and understand what their actions mean and what are the consequences that they're going to have.
Well, I hope all our parents out there, they are listening to us and they are trying to understand, and I believe that everyone out there has been through with such traumatic situations. Maybe you're home or maybe you're outside and you don't know that time that what to do, because sometimes I saw the kids, they're just rolling in the floor because they want something and the parent is saying no, that you can't have it right now. But they don't know, as he's expressing, that they don't know how to listen to that no, so they don't know how to act on that no. So they will just do whatever they think is best for them.
So what ends up happening in that situation is that the child is rolling around wanting something, and you feel that you should try to pacify them. You might just go ahead and give them the toy.
Yeah.
But what the child has learned there is that if the child throws a temper tantrum, he will get what he wants, right? So if I do this, so every time the child goes into the store and he does that, he will get what he wants. You have reinforced a negative behavior as a parent.
Yeah.
So what you should have done
Yeah.
is you need to cut that trip short.
Okay.
You need to say, I'm not going to get you this, and because of your behavior, we are now going home.
Oh, I understand.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you cut the trip short, you go ahead and take the child home. And then the child will understand that because of their behavior, you had to do that. Now, most of our parents don't want to do that because they're stressed for time, they have to go here, they have to go there. They're like, oh my God, I can't do that, I can't do that. Because if I go home, my shopping's not going to get done.
Yeah.
So
And also, I believe that as a parent, sometimes they are in that guilt feeling that they're not always with a child. So they feel that, okay, when I'm with them, I need to make them happy all the time.
And that is the other issue nowadays that we face,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So you've been hitting it right on the nails.
I'm trying. I'm trying
because the
these are
issue is
causes,
both the mom and dad are working.
Yeah.
They feel that whatever time that they have, they need to keep the child happy, and that they will go ahead and give them everything, right? So what you're actually doing is you're not letting the child learn the value of things, and you're just going ahead and showering them with negative reinforcement. Okay. So
Being a 5-year-old and holding an iPhone, or being a 4-year-old playing with an iPad, what is your thinking about it?
Don't let me even get started on that one.
No, please
right?
do,
But
please do, because
the
I
issue-
want all those parents out there who are sitting and watching right now. I need to let them know that how many bad effects they are getting from that. So please listen to Dr. Mehrotra.
So what we have, all the research shows
Yeah.
that every kid that is sitting there with glued to the screen has very poor social skills. Okay, because they're not learning to interact with people.
Yeah.
They're what we say, okay, these iPhones and iPads are great babysitters. You give that to the kid, and the kid will sit there for hours and hours and hours, and you don't have to worry about anything, right? So it's a great, I mean, technology has its pluses and minuses, and this is one of the minuses. So anytime the kid needs, just goes ahead and takes the phone. And you know, the parent just is in the middle of something else, they'll say, okay, just to keep him quiet, I'll go ahead and give it. But that is just perpetuating the behavior, and it keeps on happening. So the child knows that as soon as mom gets on the phone, I'm going to start crying, she's going to give me what I want. So let me just go ahead and do that.
So then how we say all the time that they're a kid and they don't understand. So that means that every child, they understands everything. So what is the age that they start understanding? So it is around 2?
Well, that is when you can start to discipline.
Okay, all
But
right.
Understanding? Understanding happens
As they're born,
as soon as
they're born these days?
The kids are getting smarter and smarter every day.
Okay.
Right. So they know how to manipulate, and not in a negative sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The kids are so sharp these days. They know what is going to happen, and
I'm just laughing because
right. And one of the other biggest mistakes that we make as parents is we make false threats and we don't go through with it. Okay.
Yes.
So okay, if we learn to listen, that's fine. We learn to go ahead and involve the child in the disciplining strategy, but then we have to follow through with it. Okay, you're being bad. If you do this, I'm going to go ahead and take this away from you for the next 2 weeks. Okay, that's a common thing, right? Parents will say.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But then, the next thing you know, you blink an eye and the kid has what he wants. Right?
Yeah, because the mom needs to go to work.
Right.
And she has to do her stuff. Nobody is
Right.
at home.
So it is a practical issue as well, where a lot of parents feel that stress because they want to give the love to their child.
Yeah.
They want to go ahead and do everything for their child. They want to make sure that they don't have that guilt of being quote unquote a bad parent.
Yeah.
But actually what you're doing by showering all that love and giving the child everything is you're not doing your job as a parent. You're not teaching them what they need to learn, that everything doesn't come easy in life. So that is something that as a parent you need to go ahead and put that in. And I think we're all at fault at it.
Yeah. In some point.
My kids know how to get me, right? So believe it or not, I used to be so strict in the point where until about, I think, when my older one was about 13 or 14 years of age, we didn't have Wi-Fi in the house. Okay, because Wi-Fi was an issue. They could be hiding inside the bed with their iPhones or their iPads or their tablet, whatever it was, and be on the internet. And you wouldn't know. You think the child is at bed, and then you go back and that's it. So, but now, it seems like it's the norm. You have to do it. Without that, life doesn't go on.
No, actually, the child, they come to me sometime as being in, I mean, you know, like my another profession is music. I love music, so I deal with a lot of kids. So they come to me and they start typing that, is there any Wi-Fi here?
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, you are in a different situation, so there is no Wi-Fi right now. Even if your sibling is learning, please, you have to be quiet, because they need to understand that part. But everybody is coming and asking for the Wi-Fi and the signals, and I'm like, oh my, they're all 4, 5.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm
terrible.
just telling you. Yeah, I'm just telling you this from my knowledge. And people are losing interest in arts. People are losing interest in different things that we used to do when we were little, like running in an open field and playing with your friends. I mean, that was a big thing for us.
And that was the way it should have been, right?
Yeah.
So nowadays, how many kids actually go to the library and get a book? or read.
No.
Everybody has an iPad. Everybody
Yeah.
has a tablet.
Yeah.
Everybody has a Chromebook.
But
So
one word very common to all the kids out there, that is, I'm bored. Even though they have hundreds of things,
Right.
still they're bored. So what is the reason of this boredom? Because we didn't have anything. We had maybe a kite, maybe a storybook that is coming in a month of June or July for the summer break, and we're happy with it.
it is
So-
what you get used to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we used to go out and play.
Yeah.
We used to go out and ride a bike.
Yeah.
And that is why you see a lot of childhood obesity, which we'll talk about in one other show
Yes,
down the line.
yes,
but
absolutely.
we just don't get out. We don't
Yeah.
read books.
Yeah.
We don't socialize. We don't talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
We're so attached on our Wi-Fi and on our media that's what we have, and that's what we are used
Sometimes,
to.
mostly all the parents and being in the nature here. I mean, as I'm looking at the parents and the child here, mostly that they're always, very few families I have seen that they're totally disciplined with the timings as well, because mostly the parents, they're partying till 2 o'clock. So the child is there. So the next day they're coming, they're sleeping. So I have felt that, and then they're blaming the child that why you can't sing, why you can't perform. Hey, how come they can do it? They're little.
Right.
They're 8 years old, 10 years old. They're going with you. So what do you want to talk about that to all the parents out there?
Well, the kids, there are some kids who will adapt to any situations.
Yeah.
And there's some kids who need the scheduling. They need to be on time. And they need that structure because they thrive on that. And that is how they maintain their schedule, they maintain and learn and do things normally. We put so much stress on our kids these days that they're so overburdened. And I don't blame them, because we're running them from this activity, that activity. They're expected to be on the internet with their friends, texting back and forth. They're not out of the house. They're not enjoying being a child. And obviously, when the parents are also stressed,
Yeah.
because they're running around with so many obligations and trying to, go to work and make a living and do other things, the child often gets neglected, and the discipline piece just doesn't come in. Okay, so if you have to go to your grocery store and buy things, one thing you may have to do is not make it a family outing, which a lot of families do. Or if you are going to make it a family outing, make sure you're ready to plan ahead, that in case you need to cut your trip short, you can go ahead and do that.
Well.
Okay.
Okay.
So do not have a fight in the middle of the store.
Store, yeah. Because mostly the kids, they just love to take a lot of junks in the basket. Like, okay, I want this. But when they're coming home, sometimes they're not even touching it. I hope all the parents out there, they will agree with this point, that they are not even touching the stuff. They will just grab the stuff and they will just want it. Okay, it's home. It's at home.
Of course,
That's
they'll
it.
play it once and that's it.
Yeah.
So the best toy for any toddler is your kitchen closet with empty those dabbas, those plastic dabbas.
Yes.
Okay, you can buy hundreds and dollars of worth of toys for these kids.
Yeah.
But the best thing is for the kid to be able to explore and interact with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Once that is there, that bond, that is what we are all social animals, right? We like that human interaction.
Yes.
And that is what the kids need.
So being in this topic, I would love to ask you, so all the moms out there, we are all very much careeristic, we are all very much into our things, that, okay, we need our name, we need our things. No, well, being a woman, I'm going to talk for a woman, right?
Sure.
So what do you think about that nature? So do we need to cut that short, or do we need to think about our moms, or do we need to think about our grandparents? Maybe I'm just talking about who are just very young couples, maybe 25, 26 years old, and they're not from the generation back. But what do you want to tell them? Because a lot of, that age people, they're all in IT. Mostly, and they're all into this race where they don't have any time, but yes, they're a mom, they are having their first child here. So what do you really think about that mom should need to understand to raise a baby as an assertive parent? Yes.
So what needs to happen is each situation is different.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to decide as a family entity what is important to them. Okay? Is it the husband's career or the wife's career or joint career? And everybody has to work together. Okay? Which I think is changing, where in the olden days, the dads were always kept aside, right? It was the mom's role to go ahead and raise the family. And, you know, the dad didn't even come into the delivery room, right? When the baby was being born, was waiting outside, or might have been somewhere else, or the mom went to her mother's house to deliver the baby. But now things are changing, right? So now it is a lot more responsibility for both of them to raise the child. And the dad has to recognize that. And the dad has to go ahead and make sure that they play as much of an equal part as the mother. Okay? But once again, it's a personal decision. If the mom is not career oriented and she wants to spend her time raising the child, well and good. But if she's a career oriented woman, then the father has to understand that he has to accept that and he has to step in. And when that is the case, then there will be a lot of harmony, right? And the kid will also feel that love.
Oh, yes.
But if there's always a discord about my career and your career, there will be discord at home, which the child will feel. And the child will react negatively. The child will act out. The child will have behavioral issues. And you know, it becomes very difficult at that point. So we need to make sure that everybody's invested into the child. Right? And we say the child is our future. Children are our future.
Yes.
So we have to invest into it. And there is no end to the race. There is just no end to the race. So we have to see what's important for us. We have to make sure that, you know, the kid is getting the right teaching that they need.
Yes. Sometimes we say that, okay, I mean, not the parents only, the grandparents also, they are coming here, they're staying with the child. So sometimes the parents are complaining, oh my God, you are just giving him everything or giving her everything, you are spoiling them. So what do you think about that nature?
Well, that's back again to the permissive thing, right? So it's about, you know, when we're growing up, we feel there's some parents, right, who feel that because they didn't have that growing up, they want to give everything to their child. Okay, it's one lifetime only. Let me shower my child with everything. But as I said, it is something that you're not teaching the child the value of things. All right. And once again, you have to look at the whole family dynamics, how you've been brought up, what your values are. And you need to be sure of your values and how you're going to portray them onto your child. So, you know, best of luck on all of this.
It is a long conversation, and you know what, we're almost at the end of our show. And Naveen, I know that it's really hard for me. I mean, this is such a great topic to talk about, and we can talk about hours and hours, but we have to take our leave since the time is almost done. And of course, we will be back next week, Wednesday, 7:30 to 8, with Dr. Naveen Mehrotra, and the show is Health is Wealth. Good night, and stay safe and stay well.
And thank you very much.